Last year I completed my Padi Open Water certification in Perth, Western Australia. Since then, scuba diving is becoming a bit of an obsession for me. On one of my 2-week breaks from the mines, I booked a last-minute trip to Bali for a week of diving on Nusa Penida. Nusa Penida is world famous for its dive sites, Manta Rays, Mola, and drift diving. After catching a ferry from Sanur over to Penida, I took a moment to walk around the main street to catch a vibe for the island. Penida is very friendly, relaxed and cheap, with local food markets, restaurants and lots of dive centers. After I'd had a good look around, I headed to my dive center, Scuba Junkie Penida, to meet with my dive instructor, Andre.
My name is Andrzej Kula and I'm from Poland. I'm one of the dive instructors here at Scuba Junkie Penida. For me, Penida is like a sweet spot between lights of Bali and the entertainment and tourism industry in Bali, and at the same time good diving in the environment. Penida is quite calm, everything is low-key. I really love the people here and also the dive community, really great people. So yeah, I've enjoyed living here a lot.
One of the reasons I chose Scuba Junkie Penida was they were offering 3 dives per day every day. They are also a chain dive center with 5 locations across Indonesia and Malaysia. The staff are all so friendly, knowledgeable and welcoming, making for an awesome dive experience all around.
For scuba divers, Penida is world known for amazing coral reefs. There's over 300 species of coral around the island. Definitely mantas and molas. We see quite a lot of mantas, especially in Manta Point. And in cold season, we see a lot of mola coming up to the cleaning stations. Also in terms of diving, most definitely current. We have really awesome drift dives here.
For the first 3 days diving, I was completing my Advanced Open Water certification with an Italian diver, Riccardo. During these 3 days we had to learn a variety of underwater skills to improve our scuba diving. Our favourite one was drift diving. Drift diving is where you descend into the ocean current and let it take you for a ride across the top of the beautiful coral reefs. While you're drifting, you can hide behind coral barmies for shelter, or you can grab onto boat moorings, which really makes you feel like you're flying underwater, feeling the current dragging against you. Another skill we learned was fish ID, where you learn to identify and point out fish underwater using hand signals. Here we have a trigger clownfish, an angelfish, a banded sea snake, a blue pufferfish, a Titan triggerfish, which is notorious for attacking divers, so we tried to scare him away. Luckily he didn't go for us. A school of snapper, a reef groper we scared from one coral to another, a school of parrotfish, a couple of feisty Nemo clownfish, and at the end of the dive we saw 3 turtles to top it all off.
There's just so much life, 600 species of reef fish, 300 species of coral. Also, it's so healthy owing to the amount of water that filters and nourishes the coral and brings food. It's really beautiful. It's, you know, diving here every day is a blessing. You can't get enough of it.
The other skills we learned during the course were peak performance buoyancy, navigation, 30-meter deep dive, and boat dive. Once we had completed the course, we headed back to shore on our dive boat and back to Scuba Junkie, where a few of us were being taken on a tour of the island's scenic coast. The first stop on our tour was Clinking Beach on the southwest coast. We even had a little monkey troop surprise before we left. After clinking, we headed to Broken Beach to see the Octopus Queen sculpture. The sculpture is made completely out of woven bamboo and symbolizes power, mystery, and a deep spiritual connection between the island and the sea. While I was flying my drone around the sculpture, someone came up to me and said there were manta rays below us. I quickly turned my attention down to witness a group of manta rays dancing across the surface of the water. We ended up staying much longer than our tour guide thought we would, just watching the mantas, so this ended up being the last stop of the tour, but it gave us all high hopes for seeing manta rays in the water in the coming days. After the tour, I headed down to the beach to watch the sunset, met a couple of the local dogs, got some BFC and a bintang, and crashed out.
Jazz, baby, jazz ain't music, it's memory, a slow dance with what you didn't say. It's what you hum when the night too quiet and the hurt too loud.
Now that the Advanced Open Water course was complete, the next 2 days of diving were purely fun dives. After having some breakfast at my accommodation, I headed to the dive center to check out which sites would be diving today.
Soft, strong, full of ghosts.
Our first stop was going to be Manta Point, world famous for its manta ray cleaning station. When we arrived, there were already heaps of boats in the bay.
It's the sound of missing him, but
we had our dive briefing with Andre, geared up, and jumped in.
jazz don't ask for permission, it just shows up barefoot in your kitchen with eyes like yesterday.
When we first descended, Andre noticed a stonefish hiding under a rock. Stonefish are the most venomous fish on earth, so it was cool to see him. We then made our way over to the cleaning station where you're most likely to see the manta rays. And just before we get there, Andre points out this giant manta ray coming straight over our heads. This was definitely one of the most memorable parts of the trip. Shortly after that, we headed to this coral plateau. No one else was around, and we got a private show of this one manta cleaning itself for about 15 minutes. The manta rays clean themselves by coming close to shore to the reefs to let the butterfly fish eat the parasites and dead skin off them that they're built up out at sea.
I'm really in love with Manta Rays. I actually really like visiting Manta Point with guests. In a way, that's also a problem with Manta Point. There's just too many of us, too many divers.
After our private show with the manta ray, the dive partner that was with me ran out of air early and the dive master trainee took him back up to the boat, while me and Andre carried on and found this little swim through. At the end of our dive, we headed away from the cleaning station, put up our DSMB, signalled our boat, and surfaced. perfect. Like, we'll go over here away from all the people, and one will just show up.
Exactly.
That was fucking awesome.
That's normally my plan.
Thank you.
Plain and simple.
For my last 5 dives on Penida, we dove Toya, ST Point, Buyak, Karansari, and Butamalapan. Penida has a number of coral restoration sites around the island, and we got to see a few of them on the north side as we were diving along the coast.
On Penida you have several, even more than a dozen, bigger and smaller coral restoration projects. They do really great work and they can really show very good results in terms of how coral that is planted on those sites really grows and how healthy it is. But another thing is that what is great about these projects, they involve local community. We've recently participated in one where it was actually local school children from Penida that were building the coral structures. Then diver volunteers would place at coral restoration sites. So it's a really great initiative where the local community and environment comes together.
Our next dive site was SD Point. The site has a beautiful sloping coral reef all along it, but first we decided to go out into the blue to see if we could see any bigger fish.
Guys, everything is clear?
Yeah.
Yeah? Excellent. So in that case, we kit up and do our pre-dive safety check, and we back roll in the water like, okay? Yeah?
Very good.
As we made our descent down towards 20 meters, we slowly started taking ourselves away from the reef and into the blue. As you start to lose sight of the reef behind you, you start to lose all sense of direction. Without the use of a dive computer and a compass, you'd be completely lost. You'd have to surface before you could find your way back to shore, if you hadn't already drifted too far out to sea. We went out into the blue to experience it and to have a little look for Mola and any big fish hiding out there. After a while floating around in the blue, we used the compass to find our way back towards the reef. Sadly, we didn't see any mola, sharks or big fish out there. I loved the feeling of being out in the blue. I think it's my second favourite experience from the trip. Once we were back on the reef, we started drifting along the coral, where we came across this strange shaped rock, which Andre later told me is nicknamed Penis Rock. Once we had drifted past Penis Rock, there was still so much to see on this dive. The site had so many different types of coral, so much marine diversity, so many fish. It's just beautiful. We even got this little drifting turtle guy. He was pretty cool. The other diver that was with us ran out of air again early, so the dive master trainee took him back up to the boat, and me and Andre carried on drifting along the reef. We came across this large coral barmy and decided to take a break from the current and hide behind it. When we got behind it, we noticed we weren't the only ones doing that. There was a school of hundreds, maybe thousands of different tropical reef fish all hanging out, taking a break from the currents, just relaxing behind the coral. We spent a few minutes just sitting there watching. It was a pretty awesome spectacle to see, just hanging out with all these fish.
It's just teeming with fish, eh?
Man, wow.
Yeah, behind that coral boulder, it was like, what is that?
I rarely get there, you know, because I haven't had a big team. Once I had like 4 people less experience, and I ended up almost in the harbor. Yeah, but when you have, you know, a nimble team, you can hide between the coral mountains.
Oh, fun.
That spectacle that we had.
Yeah.
So some of the dive sites around Penida that we've done were SD Point, Pad in the north of the island. Sometimes they're really good for drift. Mangrove has sometimes really strong currents and you fly over this beautiful field of staghorn coral, and that's in the north of Lembongan Island. Then Toyapake. Toyapake is a really beautiful dive site just south of the port. It is a mix of lots of coral bommies and a wall. Sometimes also good for drifts, but it's like an aquarium.
And my last dive here was at Toya, and it truly is like a little aquarium down there. Andre showed us a couple of cool caves along the wall. This cave is full of these little red soldier fish. As I came out of the cave, there was a little peacock manta strip running across the floor. Even managed to find a couple cheeky moray eels hiding out in their coral homes. And in this cave, Andre points out a little sea slug with his torch. Towards the end of the dive, we found all of these fish hiding in the shade of this tree, trying to get away from the sun. Toya was a beautiful way to end the trip. Such a nice dive site, so much variety, so many things to look at. And just when we thought we were done, the current completely switched on us and we started getting pushed back towards where we started. Actually turned into quite a good drift dive towards the end. We managed to surface just after the pull-out point. After we got back on the boat, we headed back to shore and back to Scuba Junkie. Tonight was some of the dive master trainees' last night. And as is tradition, before becoming an official dive master, they must first complete the final test, the snorkel test.
Okay guys, welcome back to the beach. Thank you for your diving with us. Thank you for the captain, thank you for the crew as well to bring us back. Hope you guys enjoyed for diving with us, yeah? And then thank you for Dan was joining us for I'm crying. Oh. Dan, thank you. Thank you. Thank you all.
The snorkel test is as old as diving itself. Each dive master candidate has to wear a special snorkel made just for them, and they have to drink a suspicious amount of liquid through the snorkel to pass. They also have some question rounds and a few games along the way to keep it all lighthearted. But overall, it looks like a fun way to pass the test.
Before we start, a round of applause for Dan.
You've met this dive site.
Listen, I winged it. We winged it. Let's go. We need to get our down the if we're gonna end up like regulator. T is time. Check your watch, check your computer, make sure it's working. Check the time. E is elevate. And remember, equalize. And then D is descend.
Over my week on Penida, I had so much fun. It brought back some creativity in me, made me want to go diving even more, and maybe even one day sit my dive masters here. Who knows? Before I left the island the next morning, I had one last look around, ate at my favourite local restaurant, had one last swim in the coral, and started making my way back to Perth. As soon as I left, I was already planning my next dive trip. My next dive trip won't be Nusa Penida, but I will 100% be back in the future. Shout out to everybody that I met at Scuba Junkie Penida. It was an amazing week, and a special shout out to Andre. You're an awesome instructor, and I felt lucky to have you for the week. Until next time, Nusa Penida.